All right. Hey, Diabia.
Hey,
Hey. Hello, viewers. Hopefully you tuning in. Have a real great discussion topic tonight. We would love for you guys to participate. Um, Tonight we will be talking about, since it was Martin Luther King's birthday, we plan to have discussion around him, honoring all of his work. But we want to make sure that our viewers understand this podcast today has nothing to do with us belittling or attacking any culture, race, or anything. It's just we want to discuss where we are today after all of the work that Martin Luther King put in to make us better. We want to know your opinions. Make sure that you are expressing your concerns because it's important. A lot of years have passed, and we just want to know what's your thoughts about where we are today as a people, as a culture. Um, and like I said, in no way are we bashing any other culture, but we still need to get to the bottom of the question: where are we today? So, Diablo, I guess I'll let you go ahead and kick it on off.
well, this is a great topic. Um, a lot has transpired from the 60s on up until now. We're in 2026, like the 20th day of 2026, and it's a lot. A lot is going on. So I basically wanted to figure out, um, like, there's a lot to talk about. I don't know why we're echoing. Is it a reason why we're echoing? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Maybe I should
No
cut my.
phone or anything. I
Let
can
me
put my
cut.
headphones on,
Okay.
but
So
it's
echo.
not a bad echo, I don't believe.
Okay. I kind of cut myself down a little bit. So, um, I could dive deep. Okay. My disclaimer is this type of stuff. Anything that is debatable, I love healthy debate, and I think that um when we look at where we were back when Martin Luther King was out, first of all, I wasn't born yet, but my
I
mom
wasn't
was
either.
born. I know, right? My mom was born. My sister and brother were both born. Well, my brother was born in 66, and my sister was born in 65. So they were, during the era of Dr. Martin Luther King, when the riots took place, the marches, and things of that nature. So when I looked at where we are now compared to, or in comparison to where we were back then, a lot of things came up. So, in my opinion, no, I'm not going to give my opinion. I'm going to give the facts. Okay. So, I had the opportunity to do some research and find out exactly, what it is that has changed between then and now. And so I found this great article from PBS, and I'm just going to take a moment to pull it up. Bear with me 1 second, because listen, this is a great article. So the article um, is by Sharon Austin from PBS, and she basically went over some things and comparisons of where we are now as opposed to where we were then. So we know that Martin Luther King was all about equality. He fought for the Black race so that we would be able to have some of the same benefits as white people. In one of his speeches, Dr. King spoke about how, he should have woken up with those same privileges, some of those same privileges, because we're all equal, right? And so in that speech, it kind of sent chills up my spine, because it's like, right, why do we have to look at our lives any differently than anybody else? And so in that, it kind of triggered me a little bit, because it was like, that's right. Why, why weren't we um afforded the same rights and privileges as everybody else? Well, we know why. Of course, racism was the stigmatism in the 60s, and black people were not treated equally or fairly. So we know that the 60s were tumultuous years, and that, it was a lot of things that were going on economically, that, it was disparaging numbers. Okay, kind of like 6-7, 6-7. Okay, we won't talk about that. So anyway, one of the things that was shared in this article, the name of the article is How Black American Lives Have and Haven't Changed Since Dr. King's Death. And it was published on January the 20th, 2020, at 10:56 a.m. And I will post the link for anybody who needs it, or wants to do, some research on it or what have you. I will post a link on it. But we know that on April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, while he was assisting striking sanitation workers. So back then, over half a century ago, racial integration, wholesale racial integration was required by the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And just keep that in mind, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, okay, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act, back then was about to become a law. And at that time, now these are the 1900s, 1960. Like I said, this is only like 56 years ago or something to that effect, maybe 60 years ago. We were only beginning then to move into neighborhoods, colleges, and careers that were once reserved for whites. So that's one thing that we were doing back then. But you have to think, because back then we had affirmative action, we had DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We had, fair housing. We had a lot of things that we look forward to, that Dr. King and several others, Jesse Jackson, the whole NAACP movement, Black Panthers, WIC, things of that nature. We had those things back then. And somehow they went awry. So economically, just 10% of white people live below the poverty level, while nearly 34% of African Americans did. So there's that, 2.6% of white job seekers were unemployed, compared to 6.7% of Black job seekers. And that was back in the 60s. Okay. So when we look forward to what is happening now, in 1968, 24 million Americans, roughly 13% of the population, lived below the poverty level. But in 2016, 43.1 million, or more than 12.7%, did. And today's Black poverty rate is 21%, and is almost 3 times that of whites, compared to the 1968 rate of 32%. So when you look at that, where have we haven't improved? If we're looking at where we are now.
Okay. So I want to ask, do you think that all of his work went in vain? Was it diluted, deliberately distorted? Where do you think we are today? Because I don't feel that. I feel some progress, but I also hear and see regress, right? I think some of the things that we're doing without speaking up, he was a voice in the community, but in today's world, 2026, it takes more than just that one person to stand out. Hey, I'm going to advocate for people, for others, right? Now we got to band together. We have some CVI groups and other groups, but I think when it comes to one another, we have stepped 2 steps backwards. That's just my thought.
I'm gonna say we step back more than 2 steps. Um, in my most humble opinion, I think that we have progressively declined in what Dr. King fought for. Do I think that it was in vain? No, because at the time, those things were called for, and we had to fight, we had to march, we had to unify in order for our voices to be heard, in order for us to be taken seriously. Because we band together, a lot of things got done. We were able to now, segregation was a thing, has become a thing of the past. We were able to drink from their fountains. We were able to swim in their pools. We were able
Vote.
to go to their schools, vote. And that's another thing I want to talk about, the voting act, right, or the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We definitely want to touch on that. But no, I don't think that his voice went in vain. But I kind of think that we as a people, let's talk about it. We as a people have set ourselves back. It's easier to place blame than it is to accept blame. Okay.
Accountability is important here.
Exactly. Accountability is important. And even something as small as him fighting for us to be able to sit at the front of the bus. But when we get on the bus, where we go? Straight to the back.
Straight to the back.
Straight to the back. Okay. I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? And so those things continue to set us back as a people. We have all of these things that we're fighting for rights for, equality, Black Lives Matter. But who do they matter to? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Black Lives Matter to? Because when you have us constantly killing one another, every time you look on the internet, we're fighting. We're on TV fighting each other. We got fight shows, made against us. We're stabbing each other in the back, sleeping with each other's husbands, constantly tearing each other down. A woman can't, we got light, we got dark, we got big, we got small, we got BBL, we got non-BBL, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different catalysts for us to be against each other, that I think that we tend to forget everything that, that was fought for. You know what I mean? So I don't think that it went in vain, but I think that if we don't use it, we lose it. Let's just say that.
I think it's going to take a lot of banding together, re-educating our young ones. I remember a time when we were younger. I can recall my grandmother saying, "Here, watch this movie," when King came on. I think we've stepped away from that. So what we don't teach our children, they don't know, right? And so it leads me to believe that I always wonder, if he were alive today, where would we be headed? Would people still follow? Would they help? Would they support the cause? Or would they do what they're doing now? Every man for himself.
Right.
It just makes me, I have so many questions, because I also want to know economically, where would we be? I think we're still hurting as a culture, as a people, economically. I do think there's an uneven balance there.
There's definitely uneven balance.
I look at all of the cultures, right? And ours stands out still today. We go to school, we take out these loans, or we get scholarships, however we go, right? And the next person sitting next to us, different culture, they'll go for the same thing. With us, they'll say, "Hey, you need experience." With others, they give them the opportunity. So I think there's still some freedoms that's missing for us. If I get down to it, because I'm going to school to be a social worker, you're going to school to be a social worker. Why is it that somebody's willing to pour into you, whereas I've still got to fight and try to get experience? I've got to work for free or volunteer just to get the experience. There's a big difference.
Absolutely. And I think that the things that safeguarded the rights of Blacks and Americans and other minorities are being challenged based on the whatever current administration we have in office. Listen, you know, politics is not my thing. I'm not politically correct. I'm not. I just use common sense when I say stuff. And you know, when you got the Bloods and the Crips, in you know a higher standard, because that's basically what it is. You know, you got red and blue. It's Bloods and Crips all day long. You know what I'm saying? Politics to me is it's just, you know, it's something to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in politics. I don't believe in it in the aspect of having people to give to us and then take away from us, and then another administration comes in and gives, and then that person you know what are we doing? What are we doing really? It's all about money. You know what I'm saying? And that's what
And
I don't.
control. I think it's more so too about control,
It's
right?
definitely about control. It's definitely
If you
about
look,
control.
I'm not political either, but if you look at things, when you look in these offices, there's a few of us sprinkled in there, right? But not so much as the ones that make the most important decisions, right? They'll
Right.
speak, but that is not enough, right? So where do we go from here to where we have strong decision makers? Because that's what we need. I think we're still fighting in that area. That space needs help,
We
and
are.
we gotta stand behind it, because this is why we're still at a different ratio. As
Absolutely.
far as pay is determined, um, I see the wages being a lot different as well.
Absolutely. So with the wealth gap between white and black families, it's widened rather than closed since 1968. In 2019, median white family wealth was nearly 10 times that of black family. And that was in
Mhm.
2019. So, you know, it's definitely some inequalities there. The scales are not balanced at all when it comes to black people. Um, you know, we can be a voice. We can stand together. We can be united. We can march. We can have candlelight visuals. We can do all of that. But at the end of the day, the decisions that are made for us are not made by us. And that's what makes the difference, you know? So a lot of the things that we had that were afforded to us, one thing that I want to talk about is the right to vote. And that's regardless of race. So we know about the 1965 Voting Rights Act. I don't think that a lot of us know, and I wish that a lot of people would chime in if you're watching. I would definitely like to know how many of us know that Black people still do not have the right to vote. Our right to vote has to be voted on. People don't know that. And you can actually look that information up, because there were provisions made to the Voting Rights Act. And because they couldn't get everything together, because there were so many things that were in question, they had to put it on a back burner. And so when they put it on a back burner, it was like, okay, well, we'll just vote every so many years for Black people to be able to vote. And the last time it was voted on was when Obama was in office the first time. So now, guess what? it's time to be voted on again. And the current administration did not vote for it. He got rid of it. So I don't know if people know that. But when we hear threats that the midterms won't take place, and we know that there is politically a bill out here called the Big Beautiful Bill, that was a part of the Project 2020, 2025, some of those things are buried in there. So when we hear threats that, hey, I'm not going to do the midterms, we can't say that that can't happen. Because yes, we have Congress, yes, we have senators, yes, we have, all of these political positions of authority. However, if they're being ignored by the commander in chief, what are you to do? So we may not be able to vote. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to, scare anybody. Again, I am not politically correct, so I can't say that this will happen or this won't happen. All I'm saying is that there is a possibility. There is a possibility.
And I think we need to be a little bit more aware. A lot of people are not into politics, but I think slowly we need to start educating ourselves, right, on it, because
Absolutely.
here's where your decisions come from. And I think that I always tell people reading is so important. We don't like to watch the news. We don't like to read about it. It's disheartening. We do ourselves a disservice. And guess what? Yeah, a lot of us are 40s, 50s, but your children have to come up behind us. And so I think this is why we need to show them now. But I wanted to kind of veer away from that just for a second, if I could. I wanted to talk about how it's hard to prove that there is, because even though we're not bashing any race, the cultures or anything, but if we're talking about King, that's the era where he comes from, right? So you still have to discuss it. No, I am definitely not racist. I have friends from all cultures, but what I will say, yeah, because some of them help you before our own. So I will say that, and it's sad, but I have to say it. Now, when it comes to racism nowadays, it shows up different. Sometimes it's the same, but it can show up a little bit different, right? It's just hard to prove now. Whereas back during those times, you could probably go and say, okay, they're being racist towards me. This is discrimination. Now there's so many different terms that they use, and it's a cover, right? So an example, back then they would say it's, like I just said, discrimination. There were visuals, right? Whites only, blacks only, don't come in here, But now it's hidden by terminology. Culture fit is one of the words that they say now. We got to be educated on it because you need to know what it looks like. It's still there. Still need to know what it looks like. Executive presence. That's another term they use to cover. It's a cover. Leadership style. When someone tells you, oh, you didn't get the supervisor position, the manager position because the leadership style. We're looking for a separate leadership style. You basically didn't get it because of who you are, maybe what color you are. Maybe it's a woman, maybe it's a man, because not everything is black and white, right? As women, we still fight for certain things. So the algorithm.
Women are still fighting for equal pay from men. Black women are still fighting for equal pay from men and from white women.
That's right.
We have, as Black women, we have a lot of systemic profiling, uncertainty. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's just not fair. And it's like, where do you go? Because when you have a padded Supreme Court, with judges who have the ability to make decisions, but are now tending to make decisions based upon political backings or who they support. You know what I mean?
That's
And
right.
then people are making decisions. People in the Supreme. Let's talk about it. People in the Supreme Court are making decisions based off fear.
That's right.
Supreme
I,
Court,
we,
the Supreme Court. Okay, you know.
yeah.
And I just want to talk a little about some of the provisions of the Voting Rights Act. So
Yep.
originally, legislators hoped that within 5 years of its passage, the issue surrounding the 1965 Voting Rights Act would be resolved, and there would be no further need for enforcement-related provisions. But they were wrong. Congress had to extend these provisions in 1970. Now, come on now. These are years. I'm not that old. I was born in 1970. Okay. They had to extend these provisions in 1970, 1975, 1982, and most recently in 2007, this time for 25 years. So they have to go back and revisit this frequently. And that's what I'm saying. Our right to vote has to be voted on, literally. So when we say I'm not gonna vote because my vote doesn't matter, my vote doesn't listen, yes, it does. Your vote counts, because in a minute you won't have, if the right person or the wrong person, whichever you look at it, gets into office, you may not have that right at all. You may
That's
not
right.
have
We have a comment.
to vote.
We've got a comment from Jamie Boone. She said, yes, it's like a renewal process. It always seems to be a bargaining chip and dangled for the Liberal Party, normally Democrats, to give on another issue.
Absolutely right.
Yes, Jamie.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. You are absolutely right. Always some type of renewal. We always have to revisit certain things. And again, a cover up, because I feel like a lot of things are related to us. If I have to say it, it's related to us because we're the ones that's impacted. When we look at the overall impact, especially as far as inflation, who is the most hit? Who receives the most negative impact behind it? Housing, employment, food, all the things we need. We're the ones who need the resources. So,
and that is part of where affirmative action and DEI came from. So affirmative action was in place first. And the focus of affirmative action was to remedy historical discrimination, which would ensure equal opportunity, which often targeted specific groups. It was legally grounded in policies, and some of those policies involved measurable goals or workforce balancing. The scope was to historically focus on race and gender in education and employment. And then the legal status was subject to strict legal scrutiny and recent court challenges, with some federal policies facing restrictions, as opposed to affirmative action. So the difference is that affirmative action was legal. That was a legal mandated policy to correct past discrimination through specific goals or preferences. And diversity, equity, and inclusion was broader. It was a voluntary framework that focused on creating inclusive cultures through systemic changes, mentorship, and removing barriers for everyone. So affirmative action was for a certain group. It was legal. And DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, was for everybody. Okay. And it wasn't legal. It could be presented, wherever, you wanted diversity, equity, and inclusion to be. And what people don't realize is that both of those no longer exist. Well, let me say this. Affirmative action is now gone. So we don't have affirmative action. And the reason that we don't have affirmative action is because one of the presidents, who shall remain nameless because I refuse to give credit to anybody who seeks credit for doing something that is detrimental to any particular individuals. But that particular president ended key affirmative action requirements through executive order, which was number 14173. That was the executive order that he signed on January 21st. And it revoked executive order 11246, which was a 60-year-old mandate established by President Lyndon B. Johnson that required federal contractors to maintain affirmative action programs based on race and gender. So he took action to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion when he came back for the second time. And all the initiatives across the federal government after taking office in 2025. So that executive order was signed on the 21st, and he terminated federal DEI offices, programs, and training that aim to restore merit-based hiring. And so now the people that benefited from both of those programs no longer have them. And I can't, with diversity, equity, and inclusion, it wasn't just about Black or brown people, it was for everybody.
It was for women.
It was
for women. Federal regulations.
Right. But because the perception, what a little perception was that it was for a certain group or a certain race, a certain individual that was considered minority, they wanted to hurry up and get away with it. The same with the educational system. So a lot of us, brown people, are now receiving degrees, nursing degrees, master's degrees in social work.
And debt.
Okay, we are now business degrees. We are now being able to get skill set in some of the areas that back in the 60s we weren't able
We weren't privy to. We didn't have any privilege to.
But look at what's happening. So back when Martin Luther King was fighting for that, now we have somebody fighting against it. And now they're trying to make nurses, that nursing is now going to be knocked down to, not even requiring, they're not even giving the credit that they should have for the work that they do. Social work as well. Now they're trying to knock that down.
Like a non-professional position.
They're trying to make a non-professional, career.
And hold on one second. And you know why that is. Basically because there's more of us getting in those positions. But I do want to, it was something that you said earlier, I want to expound on DE&I.
Yes.
I don't recall, and you tell me, I know we both around the same age, and when I was in the employment force, the workforce, I never heard of DE&I until, I want to say late 2000s, right? That wasn't something these employers were walking around talking about. And I remember working at DTE, and when they brought it up, it was like it was something new. But it was something that, just so everybody understands, it was something that was always in place. But again, if you don't read or you're not taught it, you don't know how to deal with it. And so it feels like it was something we were given, and again, something that was taken away really quick. And it was all about, not allowing certain cultures to get all of these one set of jobs, so that women could have certain protections. Because I don't know if people understand, but a lot of positions women couldn't go after. You didn't have brown women contractors. You didn't have brown women that could do certain things. We We were set to be in the kitchen, cooking, certain things like that, and cleaning. Those were some of our main jobs.
We were set to be behind the scenes. That's how it was.
That's right.
You know, we could be switchboard operators that answer phones, but we couldn't work on the line and the plant.
The pole, yeah,
We couldn't be managers and CEOs and owners of businesses. We were always, yep, let's talk about it. Women have always been the backbone, okay? There's a thing that says behind every successful man stands a strong woman. That's not far from the truth, okay? If we're going to eat from the, I don't want to talk about the apple. Oh, we don't want to eat the apple. But who said it was an apple? It might not have been an apple. But I don't want to talk about that part of it. But I mean, it's the truth, because even down to Thomas Jefferson, okay, let's talk about it. He had, a black slave, okay, that he confided in more than he confided in his wife. She had a lot of kids by him, but that was from all that confiding he was doing, okay? That's what you call pillow talk, okay? That was the creation.
Brought that one in the house, okay?
Okay. And so, I'm just saying, he felt more confident in speaking with her than he did with his own wife, but she was the backbone of his decision making, okay? She brought him peace. And so therefore, he was able to have peace of mind when he was going back telling her the things that he was telling her, and communicating the things that he was telling her. But at the end of the day, we did come a long way, but as far as today is concerned, I think that we are slowly going backwards. That's what I think. I think that
I don't know if it's so slow. I don't know that it's so slow.
Well, I'm just trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm
lighten the blow.
Yeah, I'm trying to, make it a little easier for us to understand. In all actuality, if they could line some boats up tomorrow, yeah.
Some of us will be right back on it, but by our own, we would be the ones responsible for how we get there, because at our own expense. Yeah. I wanna cover something too that I wanted to make sure people understood. When I went back and the discrimination, the racism, whether it was against women, culture, whatever, what have you, community, because even communities, people need to understand, are treated differently based on your zip code. So that's a form that can also be a form of discrimination. Now, I went back earlier and I talked about how back then it was out in the open, right? It was explicit. There were things like whites only, blacks only, don't eat here. And now how they changed the terminology. Some other things that impacted, that lets you know that it still exists, whether people know it or not. It's just like, so when you go to the airport, they have little resources there that supposedly you can get in front of the line to clear. Those are some of the things, and if you pay attention, it's facial recognition to identify or misidentify people as they need to or want to, right? And then they have hiring algorithms, right? Based on your name. People don't realize when you go to apply for a job, those are some of the things that come into play. That black sounding name, depending on who they're looking for a position, you have to be careful. That name may not get you the job, right? May not even get you the interview based on, and it's so sad.
And you know what? Just to piggyback off of that, we have to be careful too, because a lot of us who have embraced the Muslim religion and have changed our names now have to be careful, because ISIS is full effect. Okay. And from my understanding, I just read an article, and I don't, forgive me because I don't remember the name of the article. But I read an article that stated that ICE is now looking into the record of the Department of Health and Human Services, because there are a lot of people, who
Getting
get
help.
benefits. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? And so now they're looking into that in order to get people to um, kidnap, because let's call it what it is, individuals, you know, um, who actually have visas to be here. We have people that are actually eligible for citizenship and are actually considered citizens, and they're being ripped, out of the U.S. So you want to be
Yeah.
careful with that as well. To all my Islamic friends and family, you want to make sure that you're being careful with that, based upon your name. But those things, that name, the Muslim names also have an effect on, whether you get hired or not as well. I've been told that, I was just told this the other day. I had a job interview and the lady said, "Oh, I thought you were going to be a guy because your name is Jamel." And I said, "Surprise." I
I
did.
mean, people prejudge you even before seeing you, and we do it to
Absolutely.
each other as well. Just so
Absolutely.
it's out there. Depending on, like I said, depending on what they're looking for certain things. Even insurance, there's certain things, and it's based on the zip code again. So there's a lot of different things out there. But if we're talking about what he dreamed for us to have, in the future. He was building for the future. Definitely. Where do you think we dropped off at with the building? Because here we are, we're progressing over time, and I think it kind of continued even after his passing. But then something came along, and I just think he didn't explore these dreams just so we could sleep comfortably. We needed to keep going. When he passed that baton, or when he passed on, someone should have kept going and building. I see a lot of groups now, and I'm proud of them because,
And I think that that's where we slipped at, because hip hop became a culture, and it wasn't until recently that a lot of hip hop artists started using their platforms to, and comedians as well.
rock
With
the vote.
Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams, a lot of cats now are using their platform to keep us informed of the things that we need to be informed of. I think we lost that. The generation got younger, parents got younger. Responsibilities became overwhelming. It wasn't like it was before, when our grandparents would raise us, our neighbors would look out for us, the villages were there. We lost all of that.
Yeah.
At some point we lost all of that.
And people
But
stop being involved. You know, really, like even the petitions that went around. Um, I'm one of. I'm kind of guilty of some of it. Sometimes, and it's just because of the way of the world. You've been in a store or something, and somebody comes up to you with a petition to do this and do that. Nowadays, you don't even know if it's some type of scam. So I just kind of stay away from it. But back in their era, they got involved. Hey, tell me what it's about. Let me, and let me go ahead and sign it. They got the necessary signatures to change things. And I think we have to get back to that as well.
absolutely. Just to go back to where we are, the things that we've gained since Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination in 1968. We have achieved significant gains in political representation. We've had the first Black president. Congress members increased. Black Congress members have increased. Educational attainment became 38% of college graduation rate, and middle class income growth. But systemic gaps do still persist with widening wealth disparities. So the white families still hold, 10 times more wealth in than we do. But as far as political power, the number of Black members in Congress increased from 6 to over 40. The election of the first Black president occurred in 2008. High school graduation for young adults 25 to 29 rose over 90%, nearly closing the gap with white counterparts. That's why we're suffering now with our education, because we started to excel in that. College graduation reached 38%, higher than any other U.S. demographic group. Substantial absolute employment and wages were made, and increased presence in corporate, civic, and academic leadership positions.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence with the people in office.
Okay.
Because you could put 100 in the office, but if they're going to be led by controllers, they're no good to us. I mean, I'm just being honest, and that's my opinion. I just think
if small manageable bite, okay, because
small manageable bites.
We gotta take off a little bit, chew it up first. The first thing is us, our Black faces being in Congress, because there was a time when that did not take place. So to be able to place ourselves there, that's a major thing. Now when we get what that's a whole different thing. But you gotta be able to, you can't lead the cart with the horse, or whatever they say. I don't know how to say it.
You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink it, right?
Exactly. Okay, so they are there, but you can't make them do. And two, what power do they have? Because
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just like they're there, they still have counterparts on the other side that vote down everything that they vote for. We do that with Miss Jasmine Crockett. I love her. We see that with Miss Jasmine Crockett. She's fighting. She's not the only one that has a voice in Congress, or in this. Oh, she's not in the Senate. She's in Congress. Is she in Congress? She's a representative. I'm sorry.
I believe so.
Okay. But her voice is being heard. But she's not the only. Like, there are other people that are fighting with her, that have just as much of a voice as her. But then you have their counterparts that sit across from them on the other side of the aisle that vote down every damn thing, because it's them against us, instead of all of us trying to come together collectively to vote on something that matters. We are so busy looking at the colorism in it. And that's what holds us back. Continuously holds us back. So in that aspect, when Martin Luther King fought for us to have certain things, right now, today, his voice is fading out, pretty much. His voice.
That's right, because we're not keeping it alive enough. And I think when they get together, they make these decisions. You're making these decisions based on us now, but who's thinking about the future? Because I worry. I got more years behind me than in front of me, but I worry about the people I'm going to leave behind. What state are they going to be in? So if we don't take it upon ourselves, I'm going to go back to this, because I know we're getting ready to close soon, but I want to say that parents, viewers, whoever's listening, we have to get back to showing the state where we were, so that our young ones can understand where we're going, where we need to go, and where we are now. Because maybe that would make the difference, right? Just knowing how far they had to come, what they had to overcome. You got to teach them.
Absolutely. If the children are key to our future, looking at what we're looking at now, social media, all of the things that are going on social media, the fights, the Zeus network promoting, atrocities against that we carry against one another. Reality TV that really is scripted, but it's always us. We tend to thrive in turmoil and chaos and deceit, conniving, everything that's negative. We tend to thrive in that. And it's sad that trauma and tragedy sells faster than, truth and justice. That's something that we need to definitely take a look into, because once we die off, and it's a statistic, it's a known statistic that grandparents' legacies don't live forever. Okay? Because once your kids start to have kids and your great grandkids, they don't think about you anymore. So what are you doing while you're here to teach your children to carry on your legacy? You don't have to have $1 million to have a legacy. Your legacy is your word, your truth, what you stood for while you were here. Did you just see some things and let them slide? But we all need to speak. We need to stand up. Unity comes in numbers.
That's right.
And if we don't have those numbers, we'll never prevail.
And it's funny how I look at now in today's time, everything comes so easy, right? You got the social media, you got AI, you have all of these influences, right? But when we did a project in school or what have you, we had to rely on the parents' stories, some of the things that they encountered when they were younger. We had to rely on the encyclopedia. I don't know if y'all remember, we had to get encyclopedias. Yeah. That's how we did our research. Now, you click a button, put a few little keywords in, and here's all the information you need. And they don't even know if it's truthful.
And we don't even do the research. We see something on the internet and we go straight in. Oh, did you hear?
That's true. It's true.
We don't even take the time to see if it's the truth or not. Just because it's posted, we believe it.
Yeah.
And half the time it's not the truth.
And I want to go back to what you said too about the negativity. When I look at, they used to celebrate the wins. Back in Martin Luther King's times and our grandparents, they celebrated every win. Now I look at what they love now, like you said, the fighting, the negativity, the pictures with the money hanging out that they received not from hard labor. They love those type of things. I notice when people say, somebody's in the hospital, I look at some of the social media and they say somebody's in the hospital, oh, I've been sick for weeks. They have so many likes and cares in the hearts. But that person that graduated, that person that did something very positive or to create change, they ain't got nothing for you. But you'll see that same person a couple of months down the line. Oh, I see what you're doing. So you're not going to celebrate with me. They celebrate the things that are negative. So we need to bring that back. Just those little small journeys, those wins need to be celebrated again so we can feel the impact and understand where it comes from, right?
Absolutely. It's a shame that bad news travels faster than good news. That's really sad.
Really sad. Yes. Oh, did you? You should have seen it. You should have seen it.
Oh, I got pictures. I'm gonna stream it. I'm about to post.
That's another thing.
With her tongue hanging out.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna post that picture with me with that graduation hat on and all my awards and achievements and my book and my certificates, and you're not gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't. We don't. Because those things, just like back in the day, everything that had to do with sex sold. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But true, people run away from it.
That's
people
right.
Are comforted with lies. They are comforted with lies.
Yes. Yep. Real comfort. Yes. I wonder, like our activists today, because I want to shout out, and they probably not watching, may not even see it, but New Era, that group New Era. Call it what you want, but they are what you call boots on the ground. I'll never forget, every time I go into a certain specific areas, you may see them. You may see them just walking the stores, gas stations. When they treat us wrong, they're standing out there making sure that gas station closes. I want to shout them out, and other groups there are other groups. I don't know their names, so I can't speak of them. But I want to shout them out because those are our today's Martin Luther Kings. They just do it in another way, maybe more like Malcolm X, but that's a whole nother discussion because he went about the same thing, but just took a different journey with it. But I want to shout them out because that's what we have now. We still need advocates, and we need to jump on board.
Hey, let's talk about it. FOI,
Yes,
they
yes.
stand strong. You know what I mean? We may not believe in everything that they say or some of the beliefs that they have, but they are standing strong for colored people of color. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
have, I think it's a group called the 300. Is it?
Oh, yep. They strong out here.
Yes, absolutely. Those groups are very strong. The NAACP, certain chapters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hey, let's give flowers where they're deserved. You know what I mean?
that's right.
We have a lot of people out here advocating for us. I just wish that we had more.
And it's time to advocate for yourself as well, right? Don't stand back and wait till something happens to you.
Absolutely.
You see things coming, start working on it now. Don't wait till, they taking this from us. I remember with the COVID, how, and some things you got to learn to pay attention to what's going on, right? Some things is for the bigger picture. And there's no more toilet paper. And you got everybody focus on toilet paper when they taking everything else from you. All the real important toilet paper is important. However, they're taking other things from you. Okay, you had to pay attention to what was really going on. And I just think that we don't look at the whole issue enough, and we don't stand up for ourselves enough. We're waiting on somebody to come in. What we gonna do about this? No, you need to be getting ready to do something, and you need to start reading and pay attention.
Absolutely. You don't have to wait for mayors and judges and different groups and Black Lives Matter and Me Too. You don't have to wait for that. You don't have
That's
to wait.
right.
Wait. Speak up for yourself.
Speak up.
There's people out here that need you. And they need to hear you so they can be strong enough to do it as well. How many times do you see people stand up and they have an issue and they say something about it and they're on television, other people start to come out as well. We need those voices. I am one of those voices. I stand up for what I believe in. Hey, if I'm not
I do
advocating
too.
for myself, nobody else can advocate for me. Period. I'm not afraid to say how I feel. I'm not afraid to say what I need. I'm not afraid to stand up for my counterpart because that's what we are supposed to be about: togetherness, unity. You know what I'm saying? Holding one another up. Stop tearing down the black woman. The black woman has so many people against her, just as many people as the black man. Okay? We need to come together. We definitely need to come together. If not for Martin Luther King, we need to do it for ourselves, our culture. We can become extinct. People don't know that. You know what I mean? It does not take long for a race or any animals, anything to become extinct. All it takes is for us to continue to kill one another. Okay? All it takes is for us to not be able to grow and produce and reproduce. Okay, and hey, that might be on a chopping block as well. We got a lot of different things going on with women. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we got several different types of women now. That's something that we need to think about because, hey,
I need people to realize progress is not automatic.
It's not,
and freedom is not a guarantee. So instead of wondering about just today and making sure you get by, you need to look into your future, secure your children, educate them, educate yourself, and pay attention to the things that's going on around you. I wished that we would have gotten a little more interaction. I thought we would, but people may look at it afterwards.
It's
I just
okay.
think we are not here to blame any race, culture, or what have you. Not here to blame or divide, but we still have work to do. We still need to get better. We still need to improve and stand up. If you lay down, you'll fall for everything that's coming. So
Absolutely.
don't rest.
Stand
Your work
united
is
and
not
all
done.
united.
Yes, your work is not done at all. All right. Any other words out there for anyone?
I don't think I have any other words. I just want for us as a culture to come together more, and start to rebuild those villages that we had before. We did a whole show on that. Where are the villages? And I think that, I know that we come together in times of turmoil, but it doesn't always have to be that way. Let's come together in times of happiness as well. You know, let's make life one big barbecue. Everybody gonna be at that barbecue. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. And with the
Everybody.
cost of food, everybody pull up
Okay,
with a pack of something.
yeah. Okay, everybody. Let's
Yeah.
bring something to the barbecue.
You know,
Okay,
that's the word now. Pull up, right? Let's pull
pull
up for
up.
something positive. Let's pull up to
Absolutely.
protect our rights, ourselves. Let's pull up to improve life.
Amen.
All right. Well, we thank you all, those who viewed, those who will view. And until next Tuesday, we are out. All right.
Period.
Continue to have. Ain't that what they do?
Right.
All right. Well, have a great one. Good afternoon. Oh, look, I said good afternoon. I'm tired, so it's time to clock on out of here.
All
Thank
right.
you
On
guys for
three.
viewing.
On three. On
On
three.
three. Oh, on
Okay.
three.
All
On
right.
three.
On three. One,
Let's
two,
go.
three.
2, 3.
Detroit, press
Detroit Press
play.
Play. Thank you.